Somebody can sing. Jai Radha.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Krishna Rukmini, Jaya Satyabhama, Krishna Rukmini, Jaya Satyabhama. Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Samsthapakacharya Savior of the whole world Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Srimad-Bhagavatam Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Gaur Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25, Text number 19. Na yujyamanaya bhaktya na yujyamanaya bhaktya bhagavati akhila atmani bhagavatyakhilātmani sadrusho asti shivaha pantha sadrushosti shiva pantha yoginam brahma siddhaye yoginam brahma siddhaye nayujyamanaya bhaktya bhagavatyakhilātmani sadrushosti shiva pantha yoginam brahma siddhaye. Nayujyamanaya bhaktya bhagavatyakhilātmani sadrushosti shiva pantha yoginam brahma siddhaye. Nayujyamanaya bhaktya bhagavatyakhilātmani sadrushosti shiva pantha yoginam Nayujyamanaya bhaktya yoginam brahma siddhaye. Na, not. Yujyamanaya, being performed. Bhaktya, devotional service. Bhagavati, towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Akhila Atmani, the Super Soul. Sadrushaha, like. Asti, there is. Shivaha, auspicious. Pantha, path. Yoginam, of the yogis. Brahma Siddhaye, for perfection and self-realization. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. Perfection and self-realization cannot be attained by any kind of yogi unless he engages in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for that is the only auspicious path. Please repeat this translation after me. Perfection and self-realization cannot be attained by any kind of yogi unless he engages in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for that is the only auspicious path. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. That knowledge and renunciation are never perfect unless joined by devotional service is explicitly explained here. Na yujyamanaya means without being doubted. When there is devotional service, then the question is where to offer that service. Devotional service is to be offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the super soul of everything, for that is the only reliable path of self-realization or Brahman realization. The word Brahma Siddhaye means to understand oneself to be different from matter, to understand oneself to be Brahman. The Vedic words are Aham Brahmasmi. Brahma Siddhi means that one should know that he is not matter, he is pure soul. There are different kinds of yogis, but every yogi is supposed to engage in self-realization or Brahman realization. It is clearly stated here that unless one is fully engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot have easy approach to the path of Brahma Siddhi. In the beginning of the second chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, it is stated that when one engages himself in the devotional service of Vasudeva, spiritual knowledge and renunciation of the material world automatically become manifest. Thus, a devotee does not have to try separately for renunciation or knowledge. Devotional service itself is so powerful that by one's service attitude, everything is revealed. It is stated here, Shiva Pantha, that is the only auspicious path for self-realization. The path of devotional service is the most confidential means for attaining Brahman realization. That perfection in Brahman realization is attained through the auspicious path of devotional service indicates that the so-called Brahman realization or realization of the Brahma Jyoti effulgence is not Brahma Siddhi. Beyond that Brahma Jyoti, there is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Upanishads, a devotee prays to the Lord to kindly put aside the effulgence Brahma Jyoti so that the devotee may see within the Brahma Jyoti the actual eternal form of the Lord. Unless one attains realization of the transcendental form of the Lord, there is no question of bhakti. Bhakti necessitates the existence of the recipient of devotional service and the devotee who renders devotional service. Brahma Siddhi through devotional service is realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The understanding of the effulgent rays of the body of the Supreme Godhead is not the perfect stage of Brahma Siddhi or Brahman realization, nor is the realization of the Paramatma feature of the Supreme Person perfect. For Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is Akhilatma. He is the Super Soul. One who realizes the Supreme Personality realizes the other features, namely the Paramatma feature and the Brahman feature, and that total realization is Brahma Siddhi. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prachari Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitare Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namah. So Lord Kapila is instructing Mother Devahuti. She has inquired from him I have taken shelter of your lotus feet because you are the only person of whom to take shelter. You are the axe which can cut the tree of material existence. I therefore offer my obeisances unto you, who are the greatest of all transcendentalists, and I inquire from you as to the relationship between man and woman, between spirit and matter. The beginning of spiritual life is understanding that we are spirit soul, we are not the body, we are matter. No, we are spirit, we are not matter. But then the progress in the understanding of what is this spirit or what is the self, that is where different philosophers and different processes are having different conclusions. Actually, it's not a conclusion, but the process which they adopt, it actually misleads them if they are not guided by a perfectly self-realized spiritual master. So, in the Bhagavad-gita, Krishna clearly explains systematically this entire subject of self-realization, Brahma Vidya, and he also explains Yoga Shastra. Yoga Shastra is the science of yoga. Imam vivasvate yogam proktavanaham avyayam. So the science of yoga, and Prabhupada translates this word yoga in 4th chapter, 1st verse of the Bhagavad-gita as the science of one's relationship with the Supreme. So, moment the understanding is that each one of us, we are spirit soul, but we have a relationship with the Supreme Spirit, Supreme Soul. Then the yoga, the word yoga refers to devotional service. And therefore, in the beginning of the 4th chapter, Krishna says that Bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam etad uttamam. Only those who are devotees can understand the transcendental mystery of this science of yoga. Because what happens for those who are not on the path of devotional service is that they are misled by so many misconceptions. Material existence means we are forgetful of the Supreme Lord, Krishna, of whom we are a part and parcel. Mama ivamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. In the 15th chapter, clearly Krishna says, every living being is his part and parcel eternally, sanatana. The theory of the non-devotees generally is that we think that we are a conditioned soul only as long as we don't realize our spiritual quality. And as soon as we realize we are spirit or we are spiritual by nature or spiritual quality, then immediately we become that absolute truth. We become God or Brahman. But there is no question of anybody being something else and becoming something else. We are what we are eternally, and that is, we are spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna, the Supreme Spirit. Eternally we are so. Only thing is, in the conditioned state, our knowledge and our understanding and our consciousness becomes covered. This is the truth. That our knowledge or our consciousness becomes covered by the material energy. And this covering can be removed only by the process of devotional service, which purifies the consciousness of all such misconceptions about who we are, or what is this world, or what is our origin, etc., etc. Devotional service is the only path of complete purification. Though the other processes, being bona fide processes, do lead to some purification and some understanding of oneself or one's identity, but it is not complete until one engages in the process of devotional service. So that is what Lord Kapila is telling here, that unless one engages in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavati Akhilatmani Yujyamanaya Bhaktya. Devotional service means there is an object of our service, and that object is also clearly defined in the Bhagavad-gita, in the Bhagavatam, in all the scriptures. That ultimate object of our devotional service is Akhilatmani, the soul of all souls, the super soul or the supreme soul. So this misconception that there is only one soul and we are that one soul is a misunderstanding. Under the influence of illusion. Under the influence of illusion, definitely we are misled by the illusory energy into having so many wrong understandings. If one does not come out of the influence of the illusion completely, then under the influence of the same illusion, they think themselves as self-realized. In the Bhagavatam, clearly in the 10th canto it is said, those who are not engaged in devotional service, which entails taking complete shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, such people, even though they may strive very hard to realize their spiritual nature, but ultimately, without taking shelter at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are unable to sustain their understanding of their self as spirit. Because this spirit, the tiny spirit, the individual living entity, cannot exist without being sheltered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in a devotional relationship, in a devotional connection. So, this secret is revealed only for those who take to the process of devotional service. Others, they cannot realize this. In fact, in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, it is clearly stated there are three features of the absolute truth. Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yat jnanam advayam. Brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate. The absolute truth is understood as Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. Now, this understanding of the absolute truth as Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, three features, is described as Advaya Jnana, non-dual substance. It is not that there are three different features of the absolute truth which are kind of isolated from each other. No. It is the one and only one absolute truth who is realized partially as Brahman and Paramatma, and only Bhagavan realization is complete and perfect realization of the absolute truth. So this is the confidential portion of the self-realization. And this confidential understanding that Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the complete realization of the absolute truth, and Brahman and Paramatma are automatically included. The features of Brahman and Paramatma are automatically included in realization of the Bhagavan feature, is possible only by those who adopt this confidential process of devotional service. That's why in the Bhagavad-gita also Krishna declares this process of pure devotional service as the most confidential path of self-realization, or the most confidential knowledge of the absolute truth. So therefore, the conclusion is that without devotional service, there is no perfection of Brahman realization. Brahma Siddhi is not possible. Whichever type of yoga practice somebody may adopt, the perfection of self-realization is only if they take to devotional service. Right in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, as Prabhupada states in the purport here, it is stated, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayad Ahaitukam. Those who take to the process of devotional service to Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for them, without separate endeavor, without separate effort, Jnana and Vairagya are automatically made possible. Janayati Ashu, very quickly. Vairagyam Jnanam Cha, both renunciation, material detachment, and transcendental knowledge are automatically realized without separate effort, simply by the process of pure devotional service to Vasudeva. That this devotional service has to be pure is already stated in before this verse. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshaje ahituki apratihata yayatma suprasid. So paro dharmo, the transcendental process of dharma, actually is the path of pure devotional service. Ahituki apratihata. So, pure devotional service is the confidential process of self-realization. Because the tendency due to material conditioning is to seek some sort of material benefit or some kind of spiritual benefit, even while pursuing the path of self-realization. So clearly in the Bhagavatam it is said, pure devotion or pure bhakti can be contaminated by karma and jnana. So therefore, in defining what is pure devotional service or bhakti, uttama bhakti, Srila Rupa Goswami says, Anya abhilashita shunyam jnana karma dhyanavritam. So, bhakti necessarily means uttama bhakti, pure devotional service, which is characterized by freedom from all other desires other than the one single desire to simply render service to Krishna for pleasing Him according to His requirements, according to His needs for Him. So, anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhakti ruttam. So, it has to be done favorably. This devotional service has to be rendered favorably. And therefore, the criterion is whether Krishna is pleased. One time Prabhupada was explaining that people are working and they are trying to achieve perfection in the work they do. So, different people have different understanding of what is perfection of the work they do. But the Bhagavatam states the highest perfection of any activity is whether by that activity you are able to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, samsiddhir haritoshanam, samsiddhi, highest perfection in any activity is haritoshanam, pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead definitely is not possible unless one adopts the process of pure devotional service. And such pure devotional service, because it is very, very confidential, it has to be bestowed upon a conditioned soul by a pure devotee spiritual master. The other processes people may strive on their own or with, by adopting some process of swadhyaya, self-study, or process of speculation, or the process of doing some tapasya in seclusion. But all these processes, they are imperfect. Without the proper suitable guidance and the blessings and the mercy of a pure devotee spiritual master, one will be unable to realize the absolute truth as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is said in the scriptures that the absolute truth as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme unknown. So, the absolute truth as the supreme unknown remains unknown until the Supreme Lord is revealed by the pure devotee spiritual master. Only he can reveal. Only he can actually enlighten. Only he can. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in a very simple way, Krishna se tomara, Krishna dite paro, tomara shakati ache. Ami to kangal, Krishna Krishna boli, dhai tava pache pache. Krishna is the property of his pure devotees. And therefore, only the pure devotees can give this realization of Krishna, or can, Prabhupada says, they can give Krishna to you. Because Krishna is sold out to his devotees. When Advaita Acharya was worshipping this Saligram Shila in order to petition the Supreme Lord Krishna to personally come to deliver the fallen souls of this world in the beginning of Kali Yuga. So he remembered one verse from the Gautamiya Tantra in which Krishna says, Tulasi dalamatrena jalasya chulakena va vikrinete swamatmanam bhaktebhyo bhaktavatsalaha. Krishna becomes very easily accessible in his form as the Saligram Shila. And even for worshipping Krishna in the form of Saligram Shila, the procedure has been most simplified. Tulasi dalamatrena. One merely has to offer one tulsi leaf or jalasya chulakena va, or a palmful of water. Because if such an offering is done with devotion, of course Krishna never accepts anything unless it is offered with devotion. But even offering with devotion, if somebody offers either a tulsi leaf or a palmful of water, Krishna then thinks that I have become so obliged by the offering of this devotee that I have nothing in my possession which I can give to this devotee who has made this devotional offering of either a tulsi leaf or a palmful of water. So what does Krishna do? He declares, I don't have anything. And therefore Krishna vikrinete swamatmanam. He sells himself to the devotee. He becomes the devotee's property. He offers himself to his devotee. He says, I have nothing else to give my devotee. And also, it is the nature of pure devotional service that devotees, whatever offering they make it simply for pleasing Krishna. And in exchange, they don't want to take anything from Krishna. So Krishna says, I become a debtor. And the only way I can actually liquidate this debt is by offering myself to my devotee. So you can understand the power of pure devotional service offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that too, offering of a tulsi leaf or a palm full of water. So therefore, Advaita Acharya, knowing through this verse that Krishna is most pleased when he is worshipped in his form as Saligram Shila by offering a tulsi leaf and a palmful of water. So he began to worship the Saligram Shila and petition the Lord to appear to deliver the fallen souls of this world. And one of the reasons why Krishna appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita as the call by Advaita Acharya. Krishna could not refuse to come down when Advaita Acharya petitioned him through this method. Because Krishna himself says, I am sold out to my devotee. That means whatever the devotee wants, Krishna says yes, unconditionally. So, this is the actual position of pure devotional service. In fact, Srila Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he describes one of the characteristics of pure devotional service is that it is more powerful than Krishna himself. Nothing can be more powerful than Krishna, actually. It's a paradox. Because Krishna is the supreme powerful. And he possesses all powers. So what can be more powerful than Krishna? Nothing. But pure devotional service to Krishna makes Krishna subservient to the devotee. Krishna voluntarily agrees to become subservient to the devotee when the devotee offers him pure devotional service. Means Krishna himself is attracted, and Krishna himself is able to relish the pure devotional offering of his devotee. And that offering is epitomized by Srimati Radharani. Among all the pure devotees of Krishna, the best offering, the topmost offering is by Srimati Radharani. So she is the representative of pure devotional service in its highest form, the topmost form. So let's stop here. Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki.